Your son died yesterday. We already cremated him, and you have no right to anything." My daughter-in-law's words pierced through the phone like broken glass. It was 12:15 in the morning. I was alone in my small apartment in Brooklyn, with the ceiling fan spinning and the distant noise of night trucks rolling down the avenue. The city never fully sleeps, but that night, my whole world came to a halt. I looked at the phone in my trembling hand. The name on the screen read, Chloe, daughter-in-law. My heart was beating so hard I could feel it in my temples. But what Chloe did not know, what she could not possibly know in that moment, was that my son Matt was sitting right next to me on the worn-out living room sofa, alive, bleeding, with his broken arm hanging at a strange angle, but breathing. Before I tell you how we got to this impossible moment, let me take you 3 days back. 3 days that felt like 3 years. 3 days of silence that weighed like stones on my chest. My name is Danielle Morales. I am 58 years old, though my body sometimes feels like it is 80. I've been a widow for 12 years, ever since my husband Henry decided that a 32-year-old woman was more interesting than a 46-year-old wife who smelled like hospital disinfectant. I was a nurse for 33 years at the County General Hospital. Double shifts, night shifts, shifts that nobody else wanted. My hands have held newborns crying their first breath and elderly people exhaling their last. I have seen life begin and end hundreds of times, but I never thought I would see my own son return from the dead. I live alone in a second-floor apartment in a building from the 1970s. 3 bedrooms, high ceilings, hardwood floors that do not shine like they used to. The walls are covered in photographs. Matt as a baby in my arms. Matt at his civil engineering college graduation. Matt on his wedding day with Chloe holding my grandson Mikey when he was barely hours old. Every Sunday, religiously, Matt would call me. It did not matter if he was in a meeting, if he had to supervise a construction site upstate, if Mikey had a fever, or if Chloe was in a bad mood. Every Sunday at 10 in the morning, my phone would ring. "How is my favorite mom doing?" he would say always, even though I was his only mother. "I am your only mom, you fool," I would answer, and we would laugh. We talked about everything. About his work designing housing developments in the suburbs, about Mikey and his pranks in elementary school, about how Chloe wanted to redecorate their upscale house again, even though they had just finished the last remodel 6 months ago, about my knees cracking when going up the stairs, about the neighbor in apartment 204 playing loud music at 6 in the morning, 15-minute calls that would turn into an hour. My son's voice was my weekly ritual, my anchor to the certainty that I had done something right in this life. I had raised a good man, a man who called his mother. But it had been 3 days since I last heard from him. The previous Sunday, the phone did not ring. I waited until 11 until noon. I called him. The phone rang and rang until it went to voicemail. "Hello, you have reached Matt Morales." "I cannot answer right now. Please leave a message after the beep." "Son, it is me. Are you okay? Call me when you can." I called on Monday. Voicemail. I called on Tuesday. Voicemail. I called on Wednesday. It did not even ring. It sent me straight to messages as if he had turned off his phone, as if he did not want to talk to me. I called Chloe. She did not answer. I tried the house phone. Nothing. I sent her text messages. Delivered, but unread. On Wednesday night, I could not sleep. I sat in the living room with a cup of chamomile tea that got cold in my hands without me drinking it. The wall clock Matt gave me 5 years ago ticked in the silence. Outside, the city buzzed with its nightlife. Taxis, honking dogs, barking the hot dog vendor, whistling at the corner. But in my apartment, there was only silence and worry. What if something had happened to him? What if he was in the hospital? What if... No, I could not think about that. Matt was fine. He had to be fine. He was probably just busy, an emergency at some construction site. Or Mikey had gotten sick and Chloe needed all his attention. Or he simply forgot to call. But my son never forgot. On Thursday at midnight, the phone rang. I was sitting in the living room, still awake, watching a cooking show without really paying attention. When I saw the name Chloe on the screen, my heart skipped a beat. I answered before the second ring. "Hello, Chloe." My voice came out higher than normal, loaded with 3 days of anxiety. "Where is Matt? Why has he not called me?" There was a silence on the other end. Not long, maybe 2 seconds, but enough to make my stomach tie in knots. When Chloe spoke, her voice was cold, flat, as if she were reading from a script. "Mother-in-law Matt died yesterday morning." The world stopped. No, that sentence made no sense. The words were in English, but they meant nothing. They could not mean anything. "What?" My voice was barely a whisper. "What did you say?" "Matt is dead." She said it slower this time, as if I were a little girl who did not understand. "He had a car accident yesterday at 7 in the morning on the interstate heading upstate. The car went off the road, crashed into a tree, and caught fire." I could not breathe. I literally could not make my lungs work. No. "Chloe, what are you saying? This cannot be true." The body was badly burned. Then her voice remained mechanical, devoid of emotion, like an airline operator announcing a flight delay. He could not be visually identified. They had to use the license plates and his documents. The state police called me yesterday at noon. My legs gave out. I sat heavily on the sofa. The teacup I had left on the coffee table clinked against the saucer. Why didn't you call me earlier?" The words barely made it out of my throat. Why wait until now? "I have been busy." There it was, a touch of impatience in her voice. Can you imagine how much paperwork there is to do when someone dies? The identification at the county morgue, the city hall papers, the death certificate, the insurance, the house documents. I have been in offices all day. Busy. My son was dead and she was too busy to call his mother. "I need to see him." My voice broke. "Where is my son? Which funeral home?" Another silence, this one longer. "We already cremated him." The words were like a punch to the stomach. What do you mean you already cremated him?" Now my voice was rising, the panic turning into something sharper. "You did not even let me know. I could not even say goodbye. It was my decision. I am the wife. I have the legal authority." Her voice hardened. "And Matt always said that if anything happened to him, he wanted to be cremated. I just fulfilled his wishes." That was a lie. Matt and I had talked about this years ago after Uncle Raymond's funeral. Matt hated the idea of cremation. "I want to be buried next to you and Dad when the time comes," he had told me, "so we can always be together." And Mikey. The tears were now flowing freely down my face. How is my grandson? Did he see his father? "Mikey is fine. He is with me. Obviously." The tone was sharp now. "He is my son. Can I talk to him, please, Chloe? Let me talk to my grandson. He is sleeping. I am not going to wake him up. He has had enough trauma for one day." I gripped the phone so tight my knuckles turned white. The memorial is tomorrow at 10 in the morning at Oakwood Cemetery. Chloe dropped the information like someone giving directions to a stranger. "You can come if you want, but please do not make a scene. Matt's family will be there. His colleagues from work. I need to keep my composure for Mikey." Matt's family, as if I were not his family, as if I had not given birth to him, nursed him, raised him all by myself when his father abandoned us. "I will be there," I managed to say. "Good, see you there." I waited. I knew something else was coming. I could feel it. Matt left a will. It was notarized 6 months ago. Her voice changed. There was something there. Satisfaction. He left everything to me. The house in the suburbs, the savings, the life insurance policy, everything. "You have no right to anything." It was his decision. The silence that followed was so heavy I could almost touch it. "I never asked for anything, Chloe." My voice came out trembling but firm. I never wanted anything. I just want to know what happened to my son. I just want to understand how the accident happened, if he suffered, if someone was with him, if... There is nothing to understand, she interrupted me. He was driving alone. He lost control of the car. He crashed into the tree. He burned. He died instantly. It was fast. He did not suffer. It is over. The way she said it so rehearsed, as if she had practiced exactly what to say. Tomorrow at 10, Oakwood Cemetery, Section B. If you are late, we will not wait for you. And she hung up just like that, as if she had just given me the weather report. I stayed sitting on the couch, the phone still to my ear, listening to the dial tone. The screen went black. My reflection stared back at me from the dark screen. A 58-year-old woman with messy gray hair, deep wrinkles around the eyes, a face marked by 3 decades of night shifts, and a mother's worries. The tears came then, not silent tears, violent sobs that shook my entire body. I doubled over on the couch, hugging myself, and I cried like I had not cried since the day Henry left, my son, my Matt. The baby who was born with a tuft of black hair sticking up on his crown. The 5-year-old boy who used to draw pictures of the two of us holding hands under a yellow sun. The teenager who used to hug me when I came back from the hospital after 12-hour shifts. The man who had given me a grandson. The son who called every Sunday. Dead. And I could not even say goodbye. I cried until I had no more tears left, until my throat was raw and my head was pounding. The clock showed 1:30 in the morning when I could finally breathe normally again. I stood up with trembling legs and went to the kitchen to get some water. My hands were shaking so much that I spilled water all over the floor. I did not bother to clean it up. What did it matter now? I went back to the living room and sat down again. I looked at the picture of Matt on the shelf, him holding Mikey, a newborn, both with huge smiles. A day of happiness frozen in time, a day that would never return. But as I looked at the photo, as I tried to process the impossible, something began to bother me. Little things, details that did not add up. Chloe had said the accident was yesterday morning, Wednesday at 7, but she waited until Thursday at midnight to call me, over 36 hours, too busy with paperwork. I had worked in a hospital for 33 years. I knew exactly how long those procedures took, and I also knew that in the United States, when someone dies in a car accident, the immediate family is contacted right away, not 36 hours later. And the cremation. That was what bothered me the most. In this country, especially in cases of violent accidental death, there are protocols, autopsy, investigation. You cannot simply cremate a body in less than 48 hours, and definitely not without the consent of all close relatives. I was the mother. Legally, I had the right to be consulted unless he had signed some document, unless Matt had actually left specific instructions. But that made no sense. Matt had explicitly told me he wanted to be buried. I tried calling Matt again. I needed to hear his voice, even if it was just on his voicemail. I needed that connection, however small it was. The phone rang, once, twice, 3 times, and then impossibly someone answered. But it was not Matt's voice. It was noise, static, and then it cut off. I called again, straight to voicemail, again, voicemail, one more time, nothing. My heart started beating faster. Who had answered the phone? Chloe. The police, or someone who had found the phone in the wreckage of the accident. No, I could not think about that. Matt was dead. Chloe had said so. The police had confirmed it. There was a death certificate, a cremated body. But something was not right. Something in Chloe's voice, in the timing, in how she had emphasized that I had no right to anything, as if she were satisfied. I stood up and started pacing back and forth in the living room. The hardwood floors were cold beneath my bare feet, the ceiling fan spinning slowly above. The city outside was still awake, oblivious to my pain. I thought about all the times I had seen Chloe in the last few years, since she married Matt 8 years ago, a big wedding at an event garden downtown. She wore a white designer dress. He wore a black suit, nervous, but happy. At first, Chloe had been kind to me, not warm exactly, but polite. She would invite me to the house for Sunday dinners. She would ask about my health. She would thank me when I brought them baked goods or homemade meals. But something changed about 2 years ago. The invitations became less frequent. Whenever I called, Chloe always had an excuse for why Matt could not talk. He was in the shower, he was working, he was helping Mikey with his homework. The few times I went to their house, Chloe would look at me with that tight smile women use when we are being polite but actually want someone to leave. And Matt, my poor Matt. He tried to keep the peace by calling me on Sundays when Chloe went out with her friends, visiting me on my birthday with Mikey but only for an hour, sending me money for groceries even though I told him I did not need it. "It is just that Chloe thinks you spend too much on us, Mom," he had told me once. "She says we need to be more independent." Independent from me, from the woman who had worked double shifts to pay for his college, from the mother who had sold her jewelry to afford the down payment on their first house. But I never said anything, because I did not want to cause trouble. I did not want to be that mother-in-law, the one who interfered, the one who caused drama. So I swallowed my pride and accepted my increasingly smaller place in my son's life. And now he was dead, and she had called me 36 hours later, and she had emphasized that I had no right to anything, as if she were glad. It was 2:30 in the morning when I heard it. Knock, knock, knock. Soft, almost inaudible. Coming from the back of the apartment, I froze on the couch. My apartment has 2 doors, the main one that leads to the building hallway, and a back door that leads to a small fire escape alley, where the trash cans are and neighbors sometimes leave their bikes. Nobody uses that door, especially not at 2:30 in the morning. Knock, knock, knock. More insistent now. I stood up slowly. My heart was beating so fast I could hear it in my ears. I walked towards the kitchen. The back door had 2 deadbolts and a chain, always closed, always secured. "Who is there?" My voice came out trembling. Silence. Then a voice. Hoarse. Weak. Almost unrecognizable. "Mom." My blood ran cold. It could not be. It was not possible. "Who is it?" I asked again, louder now, trying to sound braver than I felt. "Mom, it is me." The voice cracked. "I am Matt. Please open the door. I am hurt. I cannot stand for much longer." My hands flew to the deadbolts, my clumsy fingers trembling. The first lock did not want to turn. I tried. It failed. I tried again. Finally, it gave way with a metallic click. The second lock, this one was rusty. I had to use both hands. I forced it. It turned. The chain. My fingers were numb. It slipped twice. On the third try, I got it. I pushed the door open. And there he was, a man leaning against the door frame. Torn clothes covered in dried blood and dirt. His face swollen with dark purple bruises. His left eye almost swollen shut. His lips split. His left arm hanging at a strange angle, clearly broken. His torn shirt revealed burns on his chest and neck. But it was my son. It was Matt. "My God," I whispered. "My God, my God, my God." He tried to smile but winced in pain. "Hi, Mom," he said, and then his knees began to buckle. I caught him before he fell. For a moment, I thought I could not hold him. He weighs 180 pounds and I'm only 5'2", but adrenaline is powerful. Somehow, I managed to get him inside the house, half dragging him, half carrying him. I laid him down on the kitchen floor as gently as I could. I closed the door quickly. I locked the 2 deadbolts and the chain again. Then I knelt beside him. "Matt," I whispered, touching his face with trembling hands. He was warm. He had a fever. "What happened to you? Who did this to you?" His eyes, one almost closed. The other bloodshot looked at me, and in them I saw something I had never seen in my son before. Fear. Real, visceral fear, the kind of fear that only comes when you have seen your own death up close. "She did," he whispered. Chloe. She tried to kill me. And then, as the night turned into early morning while the rest of the city slept, my son told me a story that would freeze any mother's blood. A story of betrayal, greed, and murder. A story that had just begun. I ran to the bathroom and grabbed everything I could find. Clean towels, gauze, hydrogen peroxide rubbing, alcohol bandages, medical tape, scissors. My hands moved by instinct after 33 years of nursing. The panic was there, threatening to paralyze me, but I pushed it down. Not now. Now my son needed me. When I returned to the kitchen, Matt was still on the floor, breathing heavily. Every inhale seemed to hurt him. Probably broken ribs. I knelt next to him and got to work. "This is going to hurt." I warned him, soaking a gauze with hydrogen peroxide. "It cannot hurt more than—" he started to say, but he screamed when I touched the deep cut on his forehead. The wound bubbled white with the disinfectant. "I'm sorry, I am sorry." I whispered, but I did not stop. I cleaned the wound methodically, removing the embedded dirt and the tiny fragments of glass. It was deep. It needed stitches. But we could not go to the hospital. Not yet. "Matt," I said while working, "I need you to tell me exactly what happened. Everything. From the beginning." He closed his eyes. A tear slid down his dirty cheek. "3 weeks ago," he started in a hoarse voice, "I found messages on Chloe's phone." My hand stopped for a second, then I continued cleaning. She had left it unlocked on the bed. I was not going to snoop Mom, I swear. But the screen lit up with a notification and I saw conversations with someone named Steve. Steve. The name hung in the air like toxic smoke. "Who is Steve?" I asked, even though I already knew the answer in my heart. "A mechanic." "She met him when she took her car in for repairs a year ago." Matt winced as I cleaned a burn on his neck. "He is younger than me, 35, divorced, no kids, of course. And the messages—" I pressed gently. "At first I thought it was just an affair. Things about, romantic things, sexual things." His voice broke with shame. It hurt me, but I thought maybe we could fix it. "Go to couples therapy. Try for Mikey." I moved his broken arm very carefully. He hissed in pain, but I kept reading. He continued, and then I found messages about me, about how much my life insurance was worth. $200,000, Mom. $200,000 if I died. My stomach churned. There were messages from 4 months ago. Chloe wrote, "What if he simply disappeared in an accident? Something that would not look suspicious." And Steve replied, "I know people who can do that for the right price." My hands were shaking now, but I kept working. I had to stay focused. I kept reading every night when she was asleep. I took screenshots. I saved them in an email draft. Matt opened his good eye to look at me. "I was going to go to the police, Mom. I swear. But I needed more evidence. Something solid. And what happened—" My voice was barely a whisper. "Yesterday morning." He took a deep breath, shivering in pain. "Chloe woke me up early. She said we needed to talk, that she was tired of the marriage, that she wanted a divorce." I started bandaging his arm using old magazines as an improvised splint. It was not ideal, but it would do until I could get a trusted doctor. She suggested we go for a drive, to talk in private, to remember the old times before ending everything. She said she wanted to go to a special spot where we used to go when we were dating. "And you agreed?" I could not help my voice sounding in disbelief. "I am an idiot, Mom. I know." One more tear. I thought maybe, I do not know. I thought if she still wanted to remember the old times, maybe there was hope. Maybe we could save our marriage. Oh, my poor son. My sweet, trusting, stupid son. We went out in her car. A white sedan she bought last year. She drove. She said she wanted to take the interstate heading upstate. Towards the mountains? There is an overlook there where we used to go to watch the sunset when we were dating. I moved towards the burns on his chest. They were superficial, thank God. First degree, maybe second in some parts. I applied burn ointment gently, but we did not go to the overlook. She took a detour, a dirt road I had never seen before. Deserted. No houses. No people. His breathing accelerated with the memory. I asked her where we were going. She just smiled and said, "You will see." I sat back on my heels listening. She drove for about 10 more minutes. Then she stopped in the middle of nowhere. Just trees and brush. She told me to get out of the car, that she wanted to show me something. "And you got out." I got out. His voice was barely audible now. And then I saw another car. An old black sedan parked between the trees. My heart raced. The door of the car opened, and he stepped out. Steve, tall dark hair, bearded, with a metal pipe in his hand. "My God," I whispered. I tried to run, but Chloe blocked me. She pushed me towards him. Matt started crying for real now, sobs that shook his bruised body. Mom, she held me. She grabbed my arms from behind while he hit me. I covered my mouth with my hand so I would not scream. He hit me on the head and the stomach, on my ribs, over and over again. And Chloe was laughing, Mom. She was laughing while he was destroying me. Tears were streaming down my face now, too. I begged him to stop. I told them they could keep everything. The house, the money, everything. Just to let me live for Mikey. His voice broke completely. "Do you know what she said?" I could not speak. I just shook my head. She said, "Mikey will be better off without you. Steve will be a better father than you ever were." A sob escaped from my throat. I kept begging, crying. And then Steve hit me so hard on the head that everything went black. He stopped breathing heavily. When I woke up, I was in my car, my BMW. They had put me in the driver's seat. I could smell gasoline everywhere. The car was on the edge of a ravine. I started. I heard Steve say, "This is going to burn. They are not going to be able to identify the body." And Chloe replied, "Perfect. Call the police in 2 hours. Say you found the accident." My blood ran cold. They pushed the car. It started rolling down. It hit rocks, trees. I was inside, half conscious. Everything was spinning. His eyes opened wide, reliving the horror. Then the car crashed into a tree at the bottom of the ravine. The impact woke me up completely. And I saw fire. The engine was catching on fire. "How did you get out?" My voice trembled. Pure adrenaline. The instinct to survive. He touched his chest where the burns were. I managed to open the door. The fire was already entering the cabin. It burned me as I got out. But I managed to get out and roll away from the car. I crawled into the bushes. I hid. Barely 30 seconds later, the car exploded. He closed his eyes. If you had taken 30 seconds longer, I could not help it. I leaned in and hugged him, careful not to hurt his wounds. I cried against his dirty, bloody shoulder. I thought they were going to come down and check. He whispered against my hair. But I heard Steve say, "Nobody survives that. Let's go." And they left. We stayed like that for a long moment. Mother and son. Survivors. Finally, I pulled away and wiped my tears. "How did you get here?" I hid in the woods until it got dark. I could not go to the hospital. If they registered me in the system, Chloe would know. She would come to finish the job. He moistened his dry lips. So I walked. Walking, limping, crawling. I climbed back up to the main road. I managed to reach a gas station. The clerk looked at me like I was a zombie. I told him I had been mugged, that they stole my phone and wallet. He let me use the bathroom to clean myself up a bit. He gave me water. He paused. Then I kept walking. It took me all night. I had to rest every mile. But I finally got to a bus station. I asked a man to buy me a ticket back to the city. I gave him my watch as payment. I looked at his wrist, his watch that I had given him when he graduated from college. Gone. The bus dropped me off at the downtown terminal at 11 at night. I walked from there to here, 3 more hours, and here I am. He had dragged himself across the entire city, broken and bleeding, to get to his mother. "Why did you not go straight to the police?" I asked. "Because I need proof, Mom. My word against hers is not enough. She has the death certificate. She has witnesses who will say she was with me when she found out about the accident. She has everything set up perfectly." His eyes met mine. "If I just show up and say I am alive, she will make up some story. She will say I faked my death to, I do not know, run away from debts or something. And Steve will disappear. There is no evidence connecting them." He was right. My beaten and broken son was absolutely right. "So what do we do?" I asked. For the first time since he had arrived at my door, I saw a flash of determination in his eyes. "We let Chloe think her plan worked, that I am dead, that she is safe. And then we catch her. We force her to confess. We destroy her." I smiled, a cold and determined smile. "Then we better start planning." I spent the rest of the night taking care of Matt. I gave him the strongest painkillers I had in my first aid kit. I made him chamomile tea with honey for his throat. I helped him take off his ruined clothes and cleaned him with warm towels, careful with every wound. When I finished, I helped him up the stairs to the guest room. Every step was agony for him, but he made it. I laid him on the bed and covered him with 2 thick blankets. He was shivering, probably from the shock. "Mom," he whispered as I adjusted his pillows, "what if we fail? What if Chloe gets away with it?" I took his hand, the same hand I had held when he learned to walk, when he was scared on his first day of school, when his father left us. "She is not going to get away with it," I said firmly, "because I will not allow it." I worked 33 years in a hospital, son. I have seen people fight for their lives against impossible odds. And do you know what those who survive have in common? They have someone fighting for them, and you have me. He smiled weakly and closed his eyes. In 5 minutes, he was asleep. I went downstairs to the living room. It was 4:30 in the morning. In 5 hours, I would have to be at Oakwood Cemetery for my son's memorial service, the funeral of my son who was alive upstairs in the guest room. I thought about Chloe, about how she had planned all this, about how she had called with that cold voice to tell me Matt was dead, about how she had emphasized that I had no right to anything. And then I remembered something she had said. Matt's family will be there. His family, as if I were not his family. Well, if Chloe wanted to play, we would play, but by my rules. I went to my bedroom and opened the closet. In the back, wrapped in plastic, was my black dress. The same one I had worn to my mother's funeral 10 years ago, to Uncle Raymond's 5 years ago, for every sad occasion that required the uniform of mourning. I took it out and hung it on the door. Then I sat on my bed and started planning. At 9 in the morning, I was dressed in black from head to toe. Black dress, black tights, low-heeled black shoes for my knees. I could not handle high heels. A black shawl over my shoulders. I pulled my hair back into a low bun, put on my biggest sunglasses, not just to hide my swollen, crying eyes, but also to observe without being observed. Before leaving, I went up to check on Matt. He was still fast asleep. I left water and more painkillers on the nightstand. I left a note. Went to the funeral. I will be back before noon. Stay hidden. Do not open the door to anyone. Do not answer the house phone. There is food in the fridge if you are hungry. Take another painkiller in 2 hours. I love you more than anything in this world. Mom. I took a cab to Oakwood Cemetery. The morning traffic was hellish, as always. It gave me time to think, to mentally prepare myself for what was coming. I was going to see the woman who tried to murder my son, and I would have to pretend I did not know it. Oakwood Cemetery is one of the most beautiful cemeteries in the city. Big leafy trees, paved paths, elegant chapels. The kind of place where people with money bury their dead. Section B, St. Francis Chapel. There were easily 60 people outside when I arrived, all dressed in black, some crying, others whispering in small groups. I recognized some faces. Matt's co-workers from the engineering firm, his boss, Mr. Robertson, some distant cousins I only saw at weddings and funerals. Chloe's neighbor, the lady who always criticized how everyone else raised their kids. And right there in the center of it all was Chloe dressed completely in black. A Dolce & Gabbana suit that probably cost more than my rent for 3 months. Her hair down, falling in perfect waves over her shoulders. Flawless makeup, just a touch of mascara that had been strategically smudged to show she had been crying. She was surrounded by people accepting hugs, wiping tears with an embroidered handkerchief, playing the role of the devastated widow to perfection. I approached slowly, with every step I had to remind myself, do not hit her, do not scream, do not reveal anything, act just like she is acting. When Chloe saw me, her expression changed for just a fraction of a second. Something flashed in her eyes. Not guilt. It was more like an evaluation, as if she were calculating whether I suspected anything. Then her face transformed into a mask of compassion. "Mother-in-law," she said, walking toward me with open arms, "I am so glad you came." She hugged me. A long, tight, theatrical hug. I had to use all my willpower not to push her away, not to scream, "You did it, you tried to kill my son." Instead, I hugged her back, stiff cold. "Of course I came," I managed to say. "He is my son." We pulled apart. She studied me for a moment, those calculating green eyes scanning my face. "I know it is hard," she said with a soft voice. "It is for me, too, but we have to be strong." "For Mikey. Where is Mikey?" I asked, looking around. "With my mom in the front row inside the chapel." She pointed toward the building. "I thought it was better if he was not wandering around." "He is very affected." "I bet he is. The poor child thought his father was dead. Can I see him?" "After the ceremony," she answered quickly. "Right now he needs to be calm." Of course I could not risk Mikey telling me something, or me discovering some inconsistency in the story. The service began at exactly 10 o'clock. We went inside the chapel. It was small but elegant. Varnished wooden pews, stained glass windows that filtered colored light. And at the front, on a raised platform, a closed casket. A silver-gray casket draped with a white cloth and a large wreath of white roses. On top of the casket, a framed photo of Matt smiling. It was the same photo I had in my living room, Matt holding Mikey as a newborn, both smiling at the camera. Seeing it there on top of that empty casket made me feel nauseous. I sat in the third row. Chloe was in the front with her mother and Mikey. I could see the boy's head, his black hair so much like his father's. Every so often, Chloe would lean in to whisper something to him. Mikey would nod his head, looking down. The priest started the service, Father Sebastian. I knew him from the parish where Matt and Chloe had gotten married. A well-meaning older man. He spoke about life, about death, about resurrection, about how Matt had been a good man, a good husband, a good father, a good son. Every word was a knife in my heart. Not because they were lies about Matt. He truly was all of that, but because everything was based on a fake death, on a lie. I watched Chloe throughout the entire ceremony. She cried at the exact right moments. She wiped her tears with her handkerchief. She held Mikey's hand. She accepted comforting pats on the shoulder from the people sitting nearby. She was perfect. Too perfect. But at certain moments when she thought no one was looking, I saw her. The real Chloe. A tiny smile tugging at her lips. Eyes that scanned the crowd not with sadness, but with satisfaction. And then I saw him. A tall man walked in through the side door of the chapel, mid-30s, handsome in a rugged kind of way. Short beard, a well-ironed black shirt, black dress pants. He sat in the last pew in the shadows, but Chloe saw him. Their eyes met for a second, just a second, but I saw it. I saw the recognition, the complicity. Steve. It had to be him, the man who had beaten my son, who had put him in that car, who had pushed the car down the ravine, who had tried to burn him alive. He was here at the fake funeral enjoying his own handiwork. The rage I felt in that moment was so intense that my hands shook. I clenched my fists in my lap. I took a deep breath, slow calm. You have to stay calm. I took out my cell phone. I put it on silent. I lowered the brightness, and discreetly pretending to check messages, I took a picture of Steve, blurry, far away. But it was him. The ceremony ended. The priest said the final prayer. People started standing up. The casket would be taken to the crematorium, or at least that is what everyone thought. I wondered what was inside. Was it empty? Had they put something else inside to give it weight? Someone else's body? I would not know. And it did not matter. I did not stay for the procession to the crematorium. I could not handle it. I pretended I was feeling sick, which was not entirely a lie. My stomach was churning. My head was pounding. My heart was beating too fast. I walked out of the chapel. Fresh air. I needed fresh air. I sat on a bench under a large tree. Purple blossoms fell like soft tears onto the grass. From there, I could see the parking lot. I could see people leaving, getting into their cars, some still crying, others already talking about other things. Life goes on. It always goes on. I saw Chloe say goodbye to everyone. Hugs, kisses on the cheek, words of gratitude for coming. Thank you for being here in this difficult time. Matt would have appreciated you coming. Michael and I are going to be fine. We had to be strong. Acting. It was all acting. When almost everyone had left, when there were only a few cars left in the parking lot, I saw him. Ryan stepped out of the shadows. He walked over to where Emily was standing next to her white sedan. They spoke, fast, in low voices, looking around to see if anyone was watching them. They did not know I was there. Hidden behind the thick trunk of the oak tree, I could not hear what they were saying, but I could see. I saw Emily take something out of her purse, a thick envelope. She passed it to Ryan. He took it. He put it in the inside pocket of his suit jacket. He said something. Emily replied, and then it happened. He pulled her by the waist. He pulled her close, and he kissed her. A long kiss. Deep, passionate. Right there. In the parking lot of the local cemetery, less than 50 yards from where her husband's body had supposedly just been cremated. I had to cover my mouth with my hand so I would not throw up. I took out my phone again. Zoom, photo, photo, photo. I took them all. The kiss lasted maybe 10 seconds. Then Emily pulled away. She looked around nervously. Ryan said something else. She nodded. He walked over to an old black sedan parked on the other side. He got in. He started the engine. He drove off. Emily stood there for a moment longer. She fixed her hair. She wiped her lips with the back of her hand. She got into her car. And she left too. I stayed sitting under the oak tree for several more minutes, processing, engraving every detail into my memory. Then I took another cab back home. When I got to the apartment, it was almost noon. Matt was awake, sitting on the living room sofa. He had put on clean clothes he found in the closet, an old t-shirt of mine that was too tight on him, and some sweatpants. His arm was still in a sling. His face was still swollen, but more alert. "How was it?" he asked as soon as he saw me. I took off my sunglasses. I sat down heavily next to him. "It was surreal to see your funeral. Seeing people cry for you while you are right here alive. Was she there?" She played the role of the perfect widow. She cried at all the right moments. She accepted condolences with grace. I paused, and Ryan was there too. Matt tensed up. "You saw him?" "I saw him. I photographed him." I took out my phone and showed him the pictures. "And I photographed this too." I showed him the pictures of the kiss in the parking lot. His face went pale, then red, then almost purple with rage. "That son of a..." He started, but he began to cough. His broken ribs hurt when he got worked up. "Calm down," I told him, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You cannot get angry like this. It is going to hurt more." He took a deep breath, slow, trying to control himself. "I also saw that she gave him money," I added. "A thick envelope, probably his payment for the job." Matt closed his eyes. "My own money, using it to pay the man who tried to kill me." "Not for much longer," I said firmly, "because we are going to get everything back, and we are going to make them pay. Both of them." "How?" He opened his eyes. "Mom, she has official documents. A death certificate, a will. Everything is legally registered. If I just show up and say I am alive, it is going to look like I faked my death. She will invent some story. She will say I threatened her, that I abused her, that I was crazy, anything to look like the victim." He was right. We needed more than just my word and the photos from the funeral. We needed a confession. "The messages," I said suddenly. "You said you saw messages between her and Ryan planning everything. Do you still have them?" He shook his head. "I saved them in a draft email, but I do not have my phone. It was left in the car. It burned. And the email account, I could access it from any computer, but..." He stopped. "Emily knows all my passwords. She probably changed everything already, deleted everything." I thought for a moment. "She still has those messages on her phone. She is probably arrogant. She probably thinks she is safe now that I am dead." "People like that get overconfident. So," I said, slowly forming the plan in my mind, "we need access to her phone. How are we going to..." "She invited me to her house," I interrupted him. "Yesterday during the call, she said something about setting aside some of your things for me to pick up. Memories, photos, clothes, the things that moms like to keep," she said. Matt looked at me. "Mom, no. It is dangerous. What if she suspects something she will not suspect? I am just the poor old grieving mother, harmless, broken." I smiled without humor. "She underestimates me, and that will be her mistake. What if she catches you?" "She will not catch me. I was a nurse for 33 years, son. I can lie convincingly when I need to. I can act, and I can be very, very careful." I got up and went to the bookcase. On the bottom shelf, kept in an old box, was my digital voice recorder. I had bought it years ago to record cooking recipes from the radio. I never thought I would use it for something like this. I took it out. I checked the batteries. It still worked. I am going to her house. I am going to act like the shattered mother, and I am going to find a way to access her phone to take pictures of those messages, to record anything she says. "Mom, there is no other option, Matt. It is this or we give up, and I do not give up when it comes to my son." He looked at me for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. "We need a lawyer, too," I said. "Someone who knows about criminal cases, someone we can trust." I thought about the people I knew, colleagues from the hospital, neighbors. Then I remembered. "Attorney Robert Taylor," I said. "Do you remember him?" Matt frowned, thinking. "The lawyer who helped your friend Lucy's daughter when her son was unjustly put in jail for a car accident that was not his fault. That is the one, Robert Taylor. He is about 55 years old. He has handled homicide cases, fraud, all kinds of criminal cases, and he is honest. He cannot be bought. Do you think he will help us?" "There is only one way to find out." I found his number in my old address book. I called. He answered after 3 rings. "Hello, Robert Taylor speaking." "Mr. Taylor, good afternoon. This is Mary Jenkins. I do not know if you remember me. I am a friend of Lucy Reynolds. You helped her family a few years ago." "Of course I remember, Mrs. Jenkins. How are you? How can I help you?" "I need to speak with you, urgent, about a very delicate criminal matter." There was a pause. "Are you in danger?" "Not me, but my son is. It is complicated, very complicated." "Can you come to my office?" I would prefer if you came to my house if possible. My son cannot go out. He cannot be seen for reasons I will explain when you arrive. And Mr. Taylor, I hesitated. This has to be completely confidential. Absolutely no one can know. Another longer pause. I could hear him thinking. Your address. I gave it to him. I will be there at 6 in the evening. Thank you, sir. You do not know how much this means. See you at 6. I hung up. I looked at Matt. The lawyer is coming at 6. Until then, you need to rest, eat something, recover your strength. I made him some chicken noodle soup, the hot broth that mothers all over the country have been making for generations to cure everything from a cold to a broken heart. Matt ate slowly. Every movement of his jaw hurt him. He probably also had an injured jaw or a severe concussion. Afterward, I helped him back upstairs to the guest room. He needed to sleep more. He needed his body to heal. While he slept, I started preparing. I took out all the documents I had of Matt. His birth certificate, school transcripts, photos from his entire life, everything that proved he was my son, that he was real, that he had existed before Emily came into his life. I organized the photos I had taken at the funeral. I printed them on the small printer I had connected to my old computer. Ryan in the shadows, Emily passing him the envelope, the kiss, evidence. Not enough yet, but a start. At exactly 6 in the evening, the doorbell rang. Matt was hiding in the guest room with the door closed. I had told him not to make any noise until I called him. I opened the door. Attorney Robert Taylor was exactly as I remembered him. A man in his 50s, hair completely gray, but thick and combed back. Thick-rimmed glasses that gave him the air of a professor. A modest but well-kept gray suit. A worn leather briefcase that had seen better days but clearly held years of experience. Mrs. Jenkins, he greeted me with a nod. Good afternoon. Mr. Taylor, please come in. Thank you for coming. He walked in looking around the apartment with professional eyes, evaluating, observing. Would you like some coffee water? I offered. A coffee would be fine, thank you. I went to the kitchen. My hands shook slightly as I prepared the coffee. This was real. We were about to make this official. Once I told this lawyer there would be no turning back. I returned with 2 cups of coffee and a plate of chocolate chip cookies. We sat in the living room. He took the armchair. I sat on the sofa. Then he began taking a notebook and a pen out of his briefcase. Tell me what is going on. On the phone, you mentioned that your son is in danger, but cannot go out. I took a deep breath. Mr. Taylor, what I am going to tell you is going to sound completely unbelievable. You are going to think I am crazy, but I swear to God that every word is true. He took off his glasses, cleaned them with a handkerchief, and put them back on. Mrs. Jenkins, I have been in this business for 30 years. I have heard it all. Believe me when I tell you that very few things surprise me anymore. My son, I said slowly, had a funeral this morning. He frowned. My condolences, but then what is the... I did not let him finish. I interrupted him. He had a funeral this morning, but he is alive. He is upstairs in my guest room. He went completely still, the pen suspended over the notebook. Excuse me. My daughter-in-law tried to kill him, her, and her lover. They beat him, put him in his car, and pushed the car down a ravine. They set it on fire, but he survived. He crawled all the way back to Chicago. He showed up at my door 2 nights ago. Attorney Taylor stared at me, looking for signs of dementia, of fantasy of lies. I held his gaze. Does your daughter-in-law know he is alive? He finally asked. No, she thinks he is dead cremated. She has a death certificate. She organized the entire funeral. She's about to collect the life insurance, $200,000. Good Lord, he whispered. Do you want to meet him? I did not wait for his answer. I got up and went to the stairs. Matt, I called out, you can come down. I heard movement upstairs, slow footsteps, the door opening. Matt appeared at the top of the stairs. Attorney Taylor stood up automatically, the notebook falling from his hands. Matt came down slowly, holding onto the railing with his good hand, his left arm still in a sling, his face still purple and swollen, limping slightly. When he reached the living room, he extended his right hand. "Mr. Taylor," he said with a raspy voice. "Nice to meet you. I am Matt Miller, the dead man." Robert shook his hand automatically, still in shock. This is, he started. "Impossible." I finished his sentence. "I know, but here he is." We spent the next 2 hours telling him everything, every detail, from the messages Matt found to the attack on the highway, from Emily's phone call to the funeral this morning. I showed him the pictures I had taken. Ryan, the kiss, the envelope of cash. Robert took notes frantically, occasionally shaking his head, muttering, "Incredible," or "I cannot believe it." When we finished, he leaned back in the armchair, took off his glasses, and rubbed his eyes. "In 30 years, he finally said, I have seen a lot of things. Husbands killing wives, wives killing husbands, children killing parents for inheritances. But this is one of the most elaborate cases of attempted homicide I have ever seen." "Can you help us?" Matt asked. "I can and I will, but we have to do this perfectly, because Emily holds all the cards right now." "What do you mean?" I asked. "She has official documents, a death certificate registered with the state, a notarized, a life insurance policy. Everything looks legal." He put his glasses back on. "If Matt simply shows up and says he is alive, she's going to claim it is a fraud, that you faked his death, to, I do not know, collect some insurance to run away from debts, to do anything. And she has a cremated body, or at least she says she does." "What body?" I asked. "Matt is right here." "Exactly. So whose body did they cremate, if they even cremated one at all?" That is what Emily's defense will argue, that there is no body, that it was all a setup, that Matt is crazy, or that you two are conspiring together. Matt and I looked at each other. "So what do we do?" Matt asked. Robert leaned forward. "We need irrefutable evidence, not just photos of a funeral, not just your testimony about what happened. We need a confession from Emily and from Ryan recorded with them, admitting exactly what they did and why." "And how do we get that?" I asked. "We catch them red-handed when they collect the insurance, when they meet to split the money with the police, ready to arrest them on the spot." "And the police are going to believe this story?" Matt sounded skeptical. "Depends on who the police are." "We need someone who is not on anyone's payroll, someone who really wants to see justice served." Robert thought for a moment. "I know someone. Detective Sarah Reynolds. She has been on the force for 20 years. She is tough, but fair. And she hates white-collar criminals, the ones who think money puts them above the law." "Do you think she will help us?" I asked. "Her younger sister was murdered 10 years ago. Her husband killed her to collect the insurance money." "Exactly the same kind of case. Ever since then, Sarah has made it her personal mission to catch these types of criminals." He nodded. "Yes, she will help us." "When can we meet her?" Matt asked. "Let me make some calls, see if I can arrange a meeting here in private tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. In the meantime," I continued, "I am going to go to Emily's house. She said she set aside some of Matt's things for me to pick up. I am going to look for a way to access her phone, the messages with Ryan." "It is risky," Robert warned. "I know, but we need that proof." "If you are going to do it," he said firmly, "take the recorder. Record everything, every conversation. She might say something incriminating without realizing it." "I will do it." Matt grabbed my hand. "Mom, please be careful." "I will, son." I squeezed his hand. "I survived 33 years in a public hospital. I can handle Emily." Robert put away his notebook and stood up. "I am going to start building the case, investigate Ryan, look into his background, his connections, anything we can use." He looked at me. "Do you know Ryan's last name?" Matt shook his head. I just know he is a mechanic, that he works at an auto shop over in the industrial district. It is a start. I will see what I can find. He headed for the door, then stopped. One last thing. Until the day of the operation, Matt cannot leave this house, not even to peek out the windows. If someone sees him and recognizes him... Understood, Matt said. I will stay here like a ghost. Robert smiled slightly. Exactly like a ghost, until it is time to resurrect. The next morning, I called Emily. I had to sound natural, like a grieving mother who just wanted some memories of her son. She answered on the third ring. Hello, Emily, it is me. Mary? Oh, mother-in-law, good morning. Even the way she said mother-in-law sounded condescending. Good morning. I wanted to know if I could still come by and pick up some of Matt's things. If it is not too much trouble. Of course it is no trouble. Her voice softened artificially. In fact, I was going to call you. I already have everything separated into boxes. Clothes photos, some personal documents, things I thought you would like to have. Thank you very much, Emily. You are very thoughtful. Whenever you want, you can come over. How about this afternoon around 3? 3 is perfect. Perfect, I will see you then. Oh, and mother-in-law. Yes, if you want, you can stay for a while, have some coffee talk. I know these days are difficult for both of us. The hypocrisy was astounding. That would be very kind of you, Emily. See you at 3. I hung up. I looked at the clock. It was 11 in the morning. I had 4 hours to prepare. I went to my bedroom. I got dressed carefully. A simple black blouse, black pants, a gray sweater, the uniform of extended mourning. Nothing flashy, nothing that would make noise. I found my largest purse, a black canvas bag with multiple compartments. Perfect. In the main compartment, I put the digital voice recorder. I set it to record continuously. I hid it at the bottom, covered with a tissue. In another compartment, my cell phone, set to silent mode camera ready. In my pocket, a small hand mirror in case I needed to pretend I was fixing my makeup while actually taking pictures. I also took my cross necklace, the silver crucifix hanging from the end, not just for faith, but as a prop. Something to squeeze if I got nervous, something that would make me look like a harmless, devout old woman. At 1 in the afternoon, I went downstairs. Matt was in the living room watching the news. It is almost time, I said. He stood up, grimacing in pain. Mom, it is not too late to cancel. We can wait. Find another way. I walked over to him. I took his face in my hands, careful not to touch the bruises. Son, I have waited my whole life to be brave, to be more than just a nurse, more than just a mother. This is my chance. Let me take it. But what if something goes wrong? Nothing will go wrong. Trust your mom. I hugged him. He hugged me back as tightly as his broken body would allow. I love you, he whispered. I love you too. Always. I took an Uber to the upscale neighborhood. The driver was a young man listening to rap music way too loud. Perfect. I did not want to make conversation. Emily and Matt's house was on a quiet, tree-lined street. Big houses with black iron gates, brand new cars parked out front, the kind of neighborhood where everyone minds their own business. The Uber dropped me off in front of the gate. The house was a 2-story painted white with large windows, a well-kept garden, purple ivy climbing up one side. Matt had worked so hard to buy this house, years of saving, of extra projects, of double shifts, and now Emily thought it was all hers. I rang the doorbell. I heard barking, a dog, Buster Michael's golden retriever. At least the dog was okay. The gate opened automatically. I walked down the stone path to the front door. Emily opened it before I even knocked. Mother-in-law, how punctual. Come in, come in. She was dressed casually. Black leggings, a white blouse, her hair in a high ponytail, minimal makeup, the image of a widow trying to stay busy. I walked in. The house smelled clean. Too clean. As if she had erased every trace of what had happened. Coffee, she offered. I just made a fresh pot. Yes, thank you. Have a seat in the living room. I will be right back." I sat down on the beige leather sofa. I looked around. Photos on the walls, Emily and Matt at their wedding, Michael as a baby, vacations at the beach, happy moments frozen in time, lies. They were all lies. My purse was next to me on the sofa. The recorder was already running, capturing everything. Emily returned with 2 cups of coffee. She sat in the armchair across from me, placing her phone on the coffee table between us. There it was, her smartphone, in a rose gold case, with no privacy screen protector. "Sugar?" she asked. "2, please." She passed me the sugar. I prepared my coffee slowly, trembling hands, but I could make it look like it was from grief, not nerves. "I cannot imagine how difficult this must be for you," Emily said in a soft voice. "Losing a son. There is no greater pain." I looked at her acting, still acting. "It is unbearable," I said, letting my voice crack. "I keep waiting for him to call. On Sundays, I wait for the phone to ring." "Me too," she sighed. "Especially at night, when Michael asks for his dad. I do not know what to tell him." "Where is Michael now?" I asked. "With my mom, up in Michigan. I thought it would be good for him to spend a few days up there, away from all this." She made a vague gesture toward the house, of course away where he could not accidentally say something he should not. "The boxes are in Matt's home office," she continued, "upstairs." I separated clothes that I know were important to him, his college t-shirts, that leather jacket he liked so much, photos from when he was a boy, school documents. "Thank you, Emily. It means a lot." We drank our coffee in silence for a moment. Her phone vibrated on the table. We both looked. The screen lit up. A text message notification. "Ryan, the deposit is in." My heart raced. Emily grabbed the phone quickly. She unlocked it. She read it. She typed a reply. "Sorry," she said. "It is the mechanic. About my car. It broke down yesterday." Lie. I could see it in her eyes, in how she held the phone a little too close. Protective. "No problem," I said. She put the phone face down on the table, but she did not lock it. Mistake number 1. "So," she said, turning her attention back to me, "about the will I mentioned." "I do not need anything, Emily." I interrupted her. "I already told you. I never wanted anything. Matt worked hard for all this. It is only fair that it goes to you and Michael." She visibly relaxed. "I appreciate you understanding mother-in-law. Some people in your position would cause problems. I am not that kind of person. I know. That is why I have always appreciated you." Another lie. "Although," I continued, taking a sip of coffee, "I was wondering about the life insurance. Has it been processed yet?" Her eyes sharpened for a second. Then she softened her expression. "It is pending. These things take time. Paperwork. Insurance investigations. But they told me it should be ready in a week or so." "And is it a lot?" I made my voice sound just curious. "I am sorry, I do not mean to be nosy. I just wonder if you are going to be okay financially, you and Michael." "We are going to be fine," she replied. "Matt was very responsible. He made sure we were protected." "More like you made sure you were protected after killing him." Suddenly, I stood up, swaying slightly. "Are you okay, mother-in-law?" Emily stood up, looking concerned. "I just feel a little dizzy. May I use the restroom, splash some water on my face?" "Of course. Do you know where it is? Do you want me to go with you?" No, I am fine. I just need a moment." I walked toward the first-floor bathroom, the one right next to Matt's study. I went in. I closed the door. I turned on the faucet to make noise. Then silently, I opened the door just a crack. From there, I could see the living room. I could see Emily. She had sat back down. She had grabbed her phone. She was typing rapidly. I waited. I counted to 30. Then I turned off the faucet. I splashed some water on my face. I dried off. I left the bathroom. When I returned to the living room, Emily was putting her phone into the pocket of her leggings. "Do you feel better?" she asked. "Yes, thank you. I think it is just my blood pressure. I have not been sleeping well." "I can imagine. Me neither." We sat down again. We spent the next half hour talking about Matt, about memories. Emily shared stories about their marriage, stories that were probably half truth, half fiction. I shared stories from when Matt was a little boy. Those were completely true. And the whole time I watched, I waited. Emily's phone was in her pocket now. There was no way to access it. I needed a backup plan. "Can I ask you a favor?" I finally said. "Of course." "Do you have any digital photos of Matt on your phone or computer? I would love to have some, to print out, to put up in my house." "Oh, sure. I have a lot." She perked up. "Let me check on my computer. It is in the office, upstairs." "Perfect. Can I go up with you? I would like to see the boxes too." "Of course. Come on." We went up the stairs. Matt's home office was at the end of the hallway, a large room with a wooden desk, bookshelves full of engineering manuals, a large computer, and 3 cardboard boxes stacked in the corner. "There are his things," Emily pointed out. "You can look through them at your own pace." She sat in the desk chair. She turned on the computer. I knelt next to the boxes. I opened them. Folded clothes, framed photos, diplomas, soccer trophies from when he was a teenager. I touched each object, remembering. "Let us see," Emily muttered, clicking the mouse. "I have about 1,000 photos. Let me find the best ones." Her phone was on the desk now. She had taken it out of her pocket and set it next to the keyboard. It was about 3 feet away from me. "You know what?" she said suddenly. "I have a better idea. There is a folder with photos of Michael and Matt together. They are on my phone. I can send them to you via AirDrop if you have an iPhone." "I have a Samsung." I lied. I actually had an old iPhone, but she did not need to know that. "Oh, then I will just upload them here to the computer and email them to you. It is just going to take a second." She grabbed her phone, unlocked it, and then her other phone rang. The house phone, the landline that was downstairs in the living room. "Oh, sorry, wait just a moment. It might be important." She left her phone on the desk, unlocked. "I will be right back." She ran down the stairs. This was my chance. I stood up quickly. I grabbed her phone. My hands were shaking. My heart was beating so fast I was sure it could be heard throughout the whole house. I opened her text messages. I searched for Ryan. There he was. Hundreds of messages. I started taking screenshots. Fast. Scroll up. Screenshot, scroll, screenshot. Messages from 4 months ago. "Emily, I need him to disappear permanently." Ryan, "Are you sure there is no turning back?" Emily, "Completely sure. I am tired of him and I need the insurance money." Screenshot. Messages from 3 months ago. Ryan, "My cousin can do the job, but it is going to cost." Emily, "How much?" Ryan, $50,000. Half now, half later. Emily, "Done." Screenshot. I heard footsteps on the stairs. Faster. Messages from 2 weeks ago. Ryan, "When?" Emily, "This Wednesday. I will tell him we are going for a drive." Emily, "You will be waiting at the spot I told you." Ryan, "What if he survives?" Emily, "He is not going to survive. Make sure of that." Screenshot. The footsteps were getting closer. I sent all the screenshots to my own number via text. I deleted the sent messages from her phone. I put the phone exactly where it was. I knelt down again next to the boxes just as Emily walked in. "It was the bank," she said, slightly out of breath. About some documents." "No problem," I said, pulling a photo out of the boxes. Matt as a little boy on the beach. "Look how small he was here." She walked over and looked at the photo. "He was adorable," she said. And for a second, just a second, I saw something on her face. Remorse. Genuine sadness. Then it disappeared. "Well, let me find those photos for you." We spent another 20 minutes in the home office. Emily selected photos. She transferred them to a flash drive she found on the desk. Meanwhile, I kept looking through the boxes, picking out objects playing the role of the mother clinging to memories. Finally, we went downstairs. I took one of the boxes with me, the lightest one. "Are you sure you can carry that?" Emily asked. "Can I ask someone to take it to your house?" "No, it is fine. It does not weigh much." At the door, she stopped. "Mother-in-law," she said, and her voice sounded almost sincere. "Thank you for understanding. About the will, about everything. I know we have not always gotten along perfectly, but I appreciate that you are not making this difficult." I looked at her. This woman who had tried to kill my son, who had organized a fake funeral, who was about to steal his money, and I smiled. "Emily," I said softly, "family is the most important thing always, and in the end, the truth always comes to light." She did not catch the double meaning. She just nodded. "Take care, mother-in-law." "You too, Emily, you too." In the Uber on the way back, my hands were shaking so much I could barely hold my phone. But I had done it. I had the messages, all of them. As soon as I got home, I ran upstairs. Matt was pacing nervously in the living room. "How did it go? Are you okay? Did she catch you?" "I am fine, and look." I showed him the screenshots. He read them one by one, his face turning from disbelief to sheer rage. "She planned it," he whispered. "All of it 4 months in advance." "Not just planned it," I said. "She paid Ryan $50,000, half before, half after. My own money." His voice broke. "Using my own money to pay him to kill me." I hugged him. I let him cry on my shoulder. When he finally calmed down, I called Attorney Taylor. "I got it," I told him. "The messages, everything." "Excellent. Can you send me the screenshots? I'm going to examine them, see how we can use them legally." I sent them to him via email. "In the meantime," he continued, "I have news. I investigated Ryan Cordero. 36 years old, mechanic, divorced. And guess what?" "What?" "He has a criminal record. 2 arrests for assault, 1 for grand theft auto. He never did time because the cases fell apart due to lack of evidence, but he is in the system." "Perfect. And there is more." I checked Emily's bank account. "Well, a friend of mine who works at the bank checked it off the record." He paused. 3 months ago, Emily withdrew $25,000 in cash, exactly 1 week after the message where Ryan says it costs $50,000. My God. She probably paid the other half later. We have to check more recent transactions. And Detective Reynolds. She is going to come to your house tomorrow at 7 in the evening. She wants to meet Matt, see the evidence, and if she is convinced, she is going to set up an operation. When Emily collects the insurance money, and according to my contacts at the insurance company, that is going to be in 5 days. Next week on Monday. 5 days. In 5 days, this would be over, one way or another. The next day, at exactly 7 o'clock, the doorbell rang. Detective Sarah Reynolds was an impressive woman around 45 years old, short black hair, no makeup, blue jeans, a leather jacket, boots a gun visible on her belt. But her eyes were the most notable thing, dark, piercing, the kind of eyes that saw right through lies. She walked in with Attorney Taylor. They sat in the living room. Matt came downstairs. The detective looked him up and down, evaluating the injuries. The bruises that were now turning yellow, the arm still in a cast. "Show me your injuries," she ordered. She did not ask. She ordered. Matt took off his shirt. He showed his chest, his back, the healing burns, the deep bruises from the blows. The detective took out her phone, took pictures, dozens of pictures from every angle. "These injuries are consistent with blunt force trauma," she muttered, "and second-degree burns probably from fire." "That is what happened," Matt said. "Tell me everything from the beginning. Do not leave out any details." Matt told his story again. The detective recorded it on her phone. She interrupted occasionally to ask specific questions. What kind of pipe? Which side did he hit first? How much time passed between the beating and the fire? How many times did you lose consciousness? When he finished, I showed her the screenshots of the text messages. She read them carefully, one by one. "These are admissible," she finally said, "if you can explain how you got them without violating her privacy." "Emily invited me to her house," I explained. "She left her phone unlocked. I saw it open accidentally. I was alarmed by what I saw. I took photos as evidence." It was not completely true, but it was a version that could be legally defended. "It works," she nodded. "And with Matt's testimony, the photos of his injuries, the messages, and if we can catch them receiving the insurance money—" "We have them," Robert finished. "Almost." The detective leaned forward. "We need to catch them red-handed, not just receiving the money, but talking about the crime, admitting to it." "How do we do that?" Matt asked. "We set up a surveillance operation. Emily is going to collect the insurance money on Monday, $200,000. She will want to split it with Ryan." She took out a notepad. "Do you know where they are going to meet?" I shook my head. "But it is probably going to be soon after she collects it. She will not want to keep all that cash to herself for long. I have people monitoring Emily's phone," Robert said. The detective frowned. "Legally, with a warrant." Robert lied smoothly. Then he winked at her. "A warrant that I am going to obtain retroactively once we have the case." "I did not hear that," the detective said. "But keep monitoring. As soon as we know where they are going to meet, we plant microphones, cameras, and undercover officers." "And then what?" I asked. "Then we wait. We let them talk, let them incriminate themselves, and when we have enough—" She smiled. It was a cold, predatory smile. "We arrest them, both of them." "And Matt?" I asked. "Matt is going to be there in the monitoring room with us, watching everything in real time." She looked at Matt. "And when we have them in handcuffs, when Emily is sure we caught her, then you walk in, alive, resurrected. And you look her in the eyes as she realizes she failed." Matt smiled. For the first time in days, he really smiled. I like that plan. The next 5 days were the longest of my life. Matt stayed hidden at home, recovering, eating, well, sleeping. His cast was itching terribly, but we could not do anything about it. Attorney Taylor worked day and night preparing documents, contacting witnesses, building the perfect case. Detective Reynolds coordinated with her team trusted officers, no one who could be bought, no one who would leak information. And I waited, cooked, cleaned, and prayed. On Sunday night, Robert called. "Tomorrow," he said. "The money gets deposited tomorrow at 10 in the morning into Emily's account." "And the meeting?" We checked the most recent messages between her and Ryan. They are going to meet at the Grand Plaza Hotel Room 512 tomorrow at 3 in the afternoon. "How did they book it?" "Ryan booked it under his name. He paid in cash. He thought he was being smart, but our team already spoke with the hotel manager. They are going to cooperate fully." "And what do we do?" "You guys get to the hotel at 2, side entrance. We will take you to a suite that we converted into a command center. From there, you will see everything. Room 512 is going to be completely wired, video, audio, everything." My stomach did a flip. Tomorrow. This would end tomorrow. "Mary?" Robert's voice pulled me out of my thoughts. "Yes, it is going to be okay. Trust me." "I do." That night, Matt and I sat in the living room, not talking much, just being together. "Are you scared?" I finally asked. "Terrified." He admitted it. "And you?" "Me too. But more than fear, I feel anger for what she did to you, for what she did to Michael, for how she lied to my face." "Tomorrow she pays," Matt said. "Tomorrow she pays," I repeated. "Monday, the day that would change everything." We got up early. I dressed Matt carefully. Dark clothes, a baseball cap, sunglasses, anything to avoid him being recognized if anyone saw us. At exactly 2 o'clock, a car picked us up. Not a police car, a standard sedan driven by a plainclothes officer. He took us to the Grand Plaza Hotel. We went through the service entrance straight to the employee elevators. We went up to the 5th floor room 508. Detective Reynolds was waiting for us. The room had been converted into a command center. 8 monitors showing different angles of the room. 512 recording equipment headsets. 3 more officers working on the computers. "You are just in time," the detective said. "Emily just checked in. She is already in the room." On one of the monitors, I saw Emily dressed in a tight red dress, her hair down and curled perfect makeup. She did not look like a mourning widow. She looked like someone celebrating. She had a large suitcase. She put it on the bed. She opened it. It was full of cash wads and wads of bills organized into perfect stacks. $200,000, one of the officers muttered. "All right there." Matt tensed up beside me. Seeing his money, the money he had worked for, the money that was supposed to secure Michael's future, sitting in a suitcase ready to be stolen. "When does Ryan get here?" I asked. "Any minute now," the detective replied. "We are tracking him." "He just pulled into the parking lot." We waited. Every second felt like an hour. At 3:05, there was a knock on the door of room 512. Emily went to open it. Ryan walked in. In person, he looked even more arrogant than in the pictures. Tall, muscular, with a smug smile. He kissed Emily. A long, possessive kiss. Matt clenched his fists. I put my hand over his. "Soon," I whispered. On the monitor, Ryan pulled away from Emily. "Did you bring it?" he asked. "It is all right here." She pointed to the suitcase. He walked over. He grabbed a stack of bills. He smelled them. He smiled. 200,000, just like they said. "Your cut is 100,000, Emily said. "Like we agreed." "Ah, about that." Ryan leaned back against the bed. "I was thinking. I did all the heavy lifting. I was the one who beat him up, who pushed the car, who took all the risk. Maybe I deserve more." Emily's face hardened. "We made a deal, Ryan." "Deals can change." He crossed his arms. 150 for me, 50 for you. "Are you crazy? No way in hell." "Then maybe I will just go to the cops. Tell them everything. How you planned the whole thing. How you convinced me." Emily laughed. A cold laugh. "If you do that, you go down too. You are just as guilty as I am." "But I can say that you forced me, that you threatened me. I am just a poor mechanic. You are the rich, manipulative wife." They glared at each other. A battle of wills. Finally, Emily gave in. "Fine. 120 for you, 80 for me. That is my final offer. Deal." They started dividing the money. Detective Reynolds raised her hand. "Not yet. We need them to talk about the crime, to specifically admit to what they did." As if he had heard her, Ryan spoke. "Do you know what the best part of all this was?" he said while counting bills. "When he begged. When your precious Matt begged for his life." Matt made a choked sound. I squeezed his hand harder. "What did he say?" Emily asked, and there was a strange gleam in her eyes. Curiosity, morbidity. "He said, 'Please, I have a son, please,' over and over again." Ryan laughed. "He even offered to give us everything, the house, the money, everything. If we just let him live." "And what did you tell him?" "I told him it was too late, that he was already dead, that his son was going to grow up calling me Dad." Emily smiled, a terrible smile. "I wish I had been there to see it. It was beautiful," Ryan continued. "The way his eyes rolled back when I hit him in the head, how he passed out. I thought he was already dead right then." "But you made sure?" Emily asked. "Of course. We put him in his car. We pushed it. We waited until it caught fire." He paused, "though I did not stick around until it exploded. It was hot and he was dead anyway." Emily nodded. "Nobody survives that." Nobody. There was silence as they kept counting the cash. Then Emily spoke. "You know what? I do not regret it. Not one bit. No. 7 years married to that bore. 7 years pretending to care when he talked about his stupid engineering projects. 7 years listening to him talk to his mommy every Sunday like he was a 5-year-old boy. Every word was a dagger to my heart. I deserved better, she continued. I deserved this. She pointed to the money. I deserved a life without him, and now I have it. And the kid, Ryan asked. Michael is going to be fine. I am going to send him to a boarding school as soon as he turns 12. Out of my way. I thought you were going to let me be his stepdad. Emily laughed. Please, you are good for one thing, Ryan, and it is not being a father. Ryan's face turned red. Then what am I to you? Just an employee, a hitman. You are what I needed at the time, nothing more. They started arguing. Greed was already tearing them apart. Detective Reynolds nodded. That is enough. We have a full confession, admission of premeditated murder, splitting the proceeds of the crime. It is time. She looked at Matt, ready to resurrect. Matt stood up. He took off his baseball cap, his sunglasses. More than ready. The detective spoke into her radio. Alpha team, move in. Now. On the monitors, I saw the door to room 512 fly open. 6 officers in full uniform rushed in, weapons drawn. Police, nobody move. Ryan tried to run. He was tackled in seconds, handcuffed. His face pressed against the floor. Emily froze, hands in the air, her eyes wide. What is happening? We did not do anything. Emily Miller, Detective Reynolds said, walking into the room. You are under arrest for attempted murder insurance fraud and conspiracy to commit homicide. This is a mistake. My husband is dead. Ask anyone. Is he really? A new voice. My voice. I walked into the room. I stood in front of her. Your husband is dead, Emily. She looked at me, confused. Mother-in-law. What are you doing here? What is all this? I believe, I said slowly, that there is someone who wants to see you. I stepped aside, and Matt walked in. Emily's world crumbled. Her face went from confusion to shock to horror to disbelief. She turned as white as a sheet. No, she whispered. No. It is not possible. Matt walked toward her, slowly, deliberately. Hello, Emily, he said in a calm voice. Are you surprised to see me? You were... The car. The fire. I survived. He stopped in front of her. I survived your boyfriend beating me. I survived the burning car. I crawled all the way back to Chicago, and I waited. I waited to see exactly what you would do. Emily's legs gave out. She sat down heavily on the bed. No, this is not happening. It cannot be happening. But it is happening, I said, and every word you said was recorded, every admission, every detail of how you planned to kill my son. Emily looked at me, and for the first time I saw real fear in her eyes. Mother-in-law, I can explain. There is nothing to explain, I interrupted her. We heard you. You said you did not regret it. You said you deserved this. You said you were going to send Michael to a boarding school. I did not mean it. It was him. She pointed at Ryan. He forced me. He threatened me. Ryan growled from the floor. Liar. It was your idea. It was all your plan. They started yelling at each other, each blaming the other, destroying each other mutually. Detective Reynolds made a signal. 2 other officers came in. They handcuffed Emily. You have the right to remain silent, the detective began. Anything you say can and will be used against you. While she read her rights, Emily looked at me. You should have died, she said to Matt with venom in her voice. You should have burned in that car. Matt stepped closer. He spoke low just for her. But I did not die, and now you are going to spend the rest of your life in prison, thinking about that mistake. They took her away, both of them, yelling, blaming each other. The room was left empty except for us and the detective. Matt dropped into the chair. He started shaking. I knelt in front of him. I hugged him. "Is it over?" he whispered. "Son, it is over. She cannot hurt you anymore." He cried. Deep, violent sobs of relief, of liberation. I cried with him. Detective Reynolds discreetly stepped out of the room, giving us privacy. We stayed like that for a long time, mother and son survivors. Finally, Matt wiped his eyes. "What now?" he asked with a hoarse voice. "Now," I said, "we go get Michael, we get your son back, and we start over. Do you think things can ever be normal again? I do not know what normal is," I admitted, "but I know we will be together, and that is enough."